Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's with some sadness this morning that I woke up to find news that Bernie Marsden had passed away. Bernie is a great British musician, songwriter, producer, and guitar player. Um, Someone who, during my formative years in the 70s, played a large part in my rock music loving era as a teenager. One of the greats of the British heavy rock scene and hard rock scene, fantastic guitar, rock and blues guitar player. One of the most, for me, one of the most important guitarists and songwriters of that classic rock era of the 1970s onwards, and supremely talented rock and blues player, and an all-round good guy to boot, according to people who knew him. Born in 1951 in Buckingham in England. Sadly, passed away at the age of 72 after a short illness. I hear from Ultimate Classic Rock, former Whitesnake guitarist Bernie Marsden dead at 72, and we'll talk a little bit about Whitesnake. Tributes were, coming out from people like David Coverdale, who's got a great Twitter feed, and he paid tribute to Bernie as a huge component of Whitesnake Phase 1, as I would call it. As David said, my sincere thoughts and prayers to his beloved family, friends, and fans. Genuinely funny, gifted man who I was honored to know and share a stage with. That's a lovely tribute. And indeed, fantastic presence in British rock music and global rock music eventually. So very sad news. Bernie, this is actually from his own website, fantastic image here of him in recent years. And I do love the quote, "I suppose I am proud of what has gone on. After all, I only ever wanted to play the guitar for a living, and that's what I'm still doing." Indeed, that's what he did do up until very recently. As I say, Bernie was perhaps, that's a great picture. I love him. Love this picture of him here with possibly with the guitar called the Beast, his Les Paul. The perhaps known, and certainly in my formative years, as I say, best known to me as the body of work he made with the band that he co-founded in 1978 with David Coverdale and Mickey Moody, his longtime friend. It was Whitesnake. And this is what I would call the British metal period of the band, before the Hollywood music video era, later in the 1980s. Now, I'm not disparaging that version of Whitesnake, who had people like John Sykes on board, and great guitar player John Sykes. But this was the era that I recall particularly as an early gig goer in my early gigs, and they made a significant impact even at that time. Some of the big successes came in the music video, but fantastic band at the time, mainstay of British hard rock. And Bernie was the co-founder and a huge component of that band. I mean, he played on all the recordings up until and including 1982's Saints and Sinners album. So I think that was about 5 albums and an EP and a live album. Great twin guitar chemistry with Mickey Moody, his longtime friend, and it's a great shot of them here on stage, I think, in Hammersmith from the era of the live album, Live in the Heart of the City. Now, Bernie wasn't just a great guitar player and played on all of these tracks, but he co-wrote many of the great Whitesnake songs, such as Fool for Your Loving, which was an early hit for them, Love Hunter, Trouble, and of course the massive hit that became the massive hit of Here I Go Again, which is a song that's had two lives, really. One is the 1982 version from Saints and Sinners, which was a British hit. This is and co-written by Bernie and David Coverdale. And this is possibly my favorite version because it's a bit slower and bluesier than the later re-recorded version in '87, which became, of course, a massive global hit. I do love this version. I'm nothing against the later one, but this one I particularly enjoy. Produced by the great Martin Birch, of course. And if you listen to this version, you can hear the differences and some fantastic guitar sound on this. But Bernie may not have appeared in the later recording, which became the big international version hit, but he certainly was the co-writer and received many awards over the years for being the co-writer of this and other songs as a result of its massive success. So, that's not to be disparaged at all, but a very, very, anyone who wants to know how good Whitesnake were in the 78 to 1980 era, it's encapsulated on the live album, Live in the Heart of the City, which I was lucky enough to see them in 1980 in concert with this lineup. It's, you've got John Lord, Neil Murray, Ian Pace, Mickey Moody, David Coverdale, and Bernie Marsden. A very, very powerful, bluesy, hard rock lineup. Possibly a little bit underrated these days when people think back to that era. They were competing with the new wave of British heavy metal. They were competing with punk and new wave. American bands like Van Halen that were taking the metal world by storm. This era of Whitesnake was a supremely talented and powerful band. Great live band. So listen to the Live in the Heart of the City album. You'll really get that showcasing of just how good they were and just how good Bernie was as a guitar player. Very special going to see that band in that era. And they had a lot of success, and I think should be fondly regarded. And a friend of the channel, a great friend of this channel, Willie Fife, gets a credit on this album. He was road manager for Whitesnake. Resident Jester is his credit if you look down there. And he has a lot of great things to say about this band, this era, and of Bernie. Being a really good guy by all accounts. I've sadly never met the guy, but so please check that album out and the early Whitesnake material that he co-wrote and many of the songs on and played guitar on. Pre-Whitesnake, of course, Bernie had been in bands like UFO, Wild Turkey. Make myself a little bigger there. Wild Turkey, Pace, Ashton, and Lord, which is the image we can see here, and was a veteran session guy who'd played with people like Cozy Powell, for instance, and some of his on one of his solo albums, and played some fantastic guitar. If you check those out, like Na Na Na, check tracks like that out. Played with a lot of great artists, many more than I could probably name. I think he even played with groups like in sessions with groups like the Hollies, and later on I know he did work with another one of my favorite singers, Elkie Brooks. Just hundreds of sessions and guest appearances that too many to mention here. So prolific and well respected as a guitar player. His post Whitesnake era, he reunited with Mick Moody and the Moody Marsden band. Some fantastic work there. A band called Alaska that he formed. The Company of Snakes, where they recreated much of that era of Whitesnake live. A lot of solo albums, a lot of session work, and thousands of gigs showcasing his rock but blues chops as well. He's a fantastic blues guitarist. Did tribute albums to Peter Green amongst others, but the one I really love is his tribute to the great Irish blues guitar legend Rory Gallagher, which is Bernie plays Rory, and the other sessions around that, which you can also get. It's a fantastic album and really, really showcases his guitar playing. I mean, it's not easy to live up to Rory, who's one of the all-time great legends, but Bernie is a superb player too. So check that album out, please. It's fantastic stuff. I do have a little clip of Bernie a few years ago. I think it may be 4 years ago, just playing and singing actually on Here I Go Again. So let's just, I'd just like to share that with you as well. Yeah, great stuff from Bernie Marsden live a few years ago. That was courtesy of a YouTuber, Rich Foster, on YouTube at I Saw a Show, if you want to check his channel out. Thank you, Rich, for recording those wonderful clips of Bernie, and there's many more things in his channel that are really worth watching, so check that out. There'll be a link in the description. So yeah, R.I.P. Bernie Marsden, taken too soon, like many others in classic rock. Thank you for all your music and your contributions to rock history. I enjoyed seeing you live a couple of times, and that first time with Whitesnake was very special. So check out some of those albums and look into Bernie's history if you're interested in classic rock. You'll find a tremendous amount of great collaborations and material. And yeah, so another sad day, but thanks to the music, Bernie, that will live on. So thank you, everybody, for watching this short tribute. Please, everybody, stay well and keep on rocking.